The auditorium buzzed with anticipation, the air electric. Rows of bright screens reflected the faces of eager spectators, a sea of press and tech enthusiasts, all expecting to witness a historic moment. As the stage lights dimmed, a pulse of energy rippled through the crowd. From the center of the stage, a holographic projection flickered to life. A stunning, hyper-realistic digital twin of former President Barack Obama. He stood there, eyes vibrant, face radiating warmth, as though he had stepped from the past into this futuristic platform. "Welcome, everyone," his voice boomed, rich and reassuring, as if it could bridge decades. "What we are about to experience is more than technology. It's the merging of human consciousness with the metaverse, a leap into our shared future." The audience leaned forward, breaths held. They were witnessing an evolution, a test of humanity's bold new frontier. But then, in an instant, everything changed. Obama's digital twin began to convulse, mouth opening wider in what appeared to be a silent scream. The ambient glow of the metaverse flickered ominously around him, transforming into chaotic shards of distorted light. Gasps erupted as his figure contorted, and within seconds, he vanished. One moment he was there, and the next, he was gone. "Did you see that?" someone whispered in the silence. A murmur spread like wildfire through the crowd, rising in intensity. "Get the security team in here!" shouted a producer through the din. Out in the world beyond the screens, chaos was brewing. News outlets scrambled to cover the unfolding event. Speculation ignited. An alien breach? A system failure? Voices of panic whispered through social media feeds and news channels alike. Meanwhile, somewhere deep in the bowels of the command center, alarms blared as intelligence officers scrambled to respond. The panic only deepened when radar operators spotted anomalies just beyond Earth's atmosphere. Warships, sleek and dark, blinked to life, suspended in the silence of space. "Sir, we have multiple unidentified ships approaching." A voice cut through the chaos, fueled by urgency. "They're broadcasting something, but it's undecipherable." The director's eyes widened. "Activate global protocols. If this relates to the Metaverse incident, we need to be ready." But ready for what? Questions spiraled as anxiety tightened its grip on the planet. The digital twin had vanished, and something far more menacing had arrived. The creatures known only as the Yllith were back, and this time, they weren't asking for a conversation. "Lock down President Obama immediately!" a frantic voice rang out. "We can't risk a breach." As security teams rushed to quarantine him, the world held its breath. What hidden truths had been unleashed in that moment? And what would it mean for humanity if the Yllith wanted their lost prize back? In a hushed corner of the world, thousands of eyes remained glued to screens, hearts pounding, waiting for answers. Little did they know, those answers were about to shift everything they believed about reality itself. The air crackled with urgency as the coalition's command center hummed with frantic energy. Screens flickered with surveillance feeds, algorithms unraveling the mysteries of the metaverse. Commander Selene Tran leaned over a console, face set in determination. "We need answers," she said, voice steady, cutting through the chaos. "Where did Obama's twin go?" Dr. Tito Ramesh, the architect of the digital twin, stood beside her, brow furrowed. The moment he triggered the merge, something interfered. "We need to trace his last digital footprint." His fingers flew over the keyboard, lines of code flashing in a dizzying array. A technician interrupted, glancing nervously at Celine. "We're getting strange feedback from global networks, echoes of his voice, but it's different. It's speaking in something we can't identify." Celine's heart raced. "Get me the data." As the technician pulled up the audio waveforms, distorted syllables chimed through the speakers. Celine leaned in closer. "Is that an ancient language?" "Possibly," Tito replied, eyes wide. "It could be an alien dialect. The Yllith are known for their complex communication." Suddenly, the main display flared to life with an incoming transmission. An armored figure clad in biomechanical armor filled the screen. The creature's voice resonated like a low rumble. "You are not prepared for what you have unleashed. He is awakening," it warned, pointing a long, slender digit at the camera. "You do not understand what you have copied." Celine exchanged a worried look with Tito. "What does that mean?" "We need to go," Tito said urgently. "If the Yllith are involved, we're running out of time." "Agreed. Prepare a team. We're going into the Metaverse." Celine's voice held a sharp edge of authority. Outside, the world held its breath, but she couldn't afford to show weakness. Lives depended on keeping the ember of hope alive. "We'll retrieve Obama's twin. We'll find him or die trying." As Celine stared into the chaos that awaited them, the lights flickered. Alarms blared, drowning out their resolve. An incoming alert flashed on the main screen. Multiple Yllith ships breaching Earth's defenses, broadcasting their demands. "Commander!" a soldier called, voice tense. "They're not here for a treaty. They're coming for war." With a jolt, Celine felt the weight of the moment. They were more than just defenders. They were humanity's last hope against a force they couldn't even fully comprehend. "Suit up," she ordered, rallying the team. "We'll meet them in the Metaverse. We're going to turn this around." But as they prepared, another jarring message pinged in the command center. A rapidly spiraling vortex of data surged across the screens, pulsing and throbbing before everyone's eyes. A direct connection to the Metaverse. But something was wrong. A frantic technician shouted, "It's unstable! We can't hold the portal!" "What do you mean?" Celine yelled. "We need to go now!" Before anyone could respond, the display shattered into static, and one chilling realization sliced through the room. The Metaverse wasn't just a gateway anymore. It was a battleground, and they were losing control. Selena felt the knot tightening in her gut. Was it already too late to save Obama's digital twin? The air shimmered with electric anticipation as Selene and Tito stepped through the portal into the Metaverse. A wave of memories crashed over them, a whirlwind of colors and images swirling together. They found themselves standing in a vibrant landscape, an abstract fusion of Obama's most cherished experiences and forgotten dreams. "Keep your eyes peeled," Selene commanded, scanning their surroundings. She noticed distant structures emerging from the shifting landscape, towering buildings with intricate designs that defied the laws of physics. "We need to find him fast." Tito adjusted his visor, his gaze darting around. "This place, it's not just virtual. It feels alive. We're not alone here." Suddenly, a series of distorted whispers echoed around them, the sound overwhelming. Celine felt a chill run down her spine as she recognized one voice amidst the chaos. "Is that?" she began, but Tito nodded, lips pressed into a thin line. "It's him. We're close," he said, urgency lacing his voice. They hurried across a shimmering meadow, the grass pulsing softly beneath their feet. Selena's heart raced as they approached a shimmering figure suspended in midair, surrounded by flickering digital particles. It was the fragment of Obama's digital twin, his expression frozen in a moment of sheer determination and confusion. "Extracting him won't be easy," Selene said, kneeling before the wavering form. "Remember, he might not be just an avatar anymore." Tito pulled up the interface on his device, fingers flying over the screen. "We have to stabilize him first. If we can secure the connection." The ground shuddered violently, interrupting him. A dark shadow loomed in the periphery, coalescing into a monstrous figure, an immensity of textured scales and obsidian eyes, a Yllith warden. It pounded through the digital environment, a manifestation of pure aggression. "Get back!" Selene yelled, pushing Tito away as tendrils of chaos lashed out, fracturing the vibrant world around them. "Where did it come from?" Tito exclaimed, scrambling to his feet. "We just entered." "We must have triggered a response," Selene replied, fingers tightening on her weapon. "We need to fight." As the warden roared, a pulsating wave surged from its body, distorting the landscape like ripples in water. An array of ancient symbols spiraled around it, a language Selene could almost understand. "It's protecting something. Veritas," she realized, her heart sinking. If they didn't retrieve the fragment soon, they would lose it forever. "If we can distract it," Tito suggested, shoving a button on his device, "I might be able to harness the Metaverse's power against it." "Let's do it!" Selene shouted, lunging toward the warden, drawing its attention away from Tito's calculations. "Come here, you oversized cockroach!" A glare of fury ignited in the creature's eyes as it shifted towards her. Its claws slashed through the air, and Selene dodged just in time, narrowly avoiding the lethal strike. "Now, Tito!" she yelled, breath hitching in her throat. Tito's device whirred, sending shockwaves through the fabric of the metaverse. Immediately, a surge of data erupted from his screen, but before he could stabilize it, the warden lunged toward them, crashing down hard. Selene felt the shockwaves slam into her as the world around her dissolved. Panic surged through her veins. "Tito!" she cried, reaching out, but the floor gave way beneath her. She fell, engulfed in a torrent of fragmented memories and choking static. Through the collapsing void, she caught a glimpse of Tito, desperately clinging to the fragment of the twin as the warden struck again, sending them spiraling further into the chaos. "Selene!" Tito's voice echoed, strained and full of dread, and then everything shattered. The dark presence lunged. The last thing Selene saw was the warden's monstrous face rushing toward her, fanged jaws open and ready. Then, darkness enveloped her entirely. What remained of her consciousness fought to hold on to the fragment of reality. Had they failed? In that cold abyss, questions bloomed like shadows. Would they escape this nightmare? Could they bring Obama's twin back? Or was this truly the end? The ground quaked as Selene righted herself in the void of the metaverse, the digital landscape spiraling into chaos around her. The monstrous Yllith warden loomed above, its claws raking through the fabric of this reality, and the whispers of Obama's digital twin trailed off to an agonizing silence. "Where are you?" she shouted, her heart racing. She abruptly sprang to her feet, scanning the kaleidoscopic remnants of the memory constructs swirling in the air. "Tito?" A faint noise cut through the unsettling quiet, a strained grunt echoing behind her. She turned to see Tito struggling to crawl free from the light, desperately clutching the fragment of the digital twin. "Celine," he gasped, panic etching his features. "We need to move." Without needing to think, she sprinted to him. "Are you all right?" she asked, glancing back at the warden that bore down upon them. The fetid stench of digital decay filled her senses. "Not now!" he snapped, urgency fueling his voice. "It's coming!" With a swift motion, she pulled Tito to his feet. They stumbled together, deep into the brilliant chaos that had once been a blissful meadow and now was merely a maze of unrealized memories. "That thing isn't just guarding the fragment," Celine said, panting. "It's trying to keep us from finding Obama." Their only hope flickered like a candle in the storm. They needed to escape the warden's grasp and stabilize the fragment or risk losing everything. Tito's fingers flew over the holographic interface on his wrist device. "I can try to generate a diversion," he said. "If we can send up a flare?" "Do it!" Celine urged, fear igniting her determination. She pushed ahead, scanning for any signs of escape. Suddenly the warden roared, shattering the air around them. The ground split, and pulsing tendrils of dark energy shot through the cracks like serpents. "It knows we're here!" Celine yelled, dodging the grasping shadows. "You can't just—" Tito began, but Celine cut him off. "Move!" They darted past severed memories that jerked and writhed, each obfuscated by the warden's presence. Celine's pulse quickened as she felt its malice focusing on them, a heavy weight pressing against her back. "I'm diverting its attention!" Tito shouted, fingers racing. "Yllith, don't just act!" She sent a glance over her shoulder. Its obsidian eyes were locked onto Tito. "We need to move, now!" In that instant, the ground shattered, the warden lunging forward. An explosion of corrupt bites erupted as the warden crashed down. Celine felt a crushing force slam into her, sending her spiraling into a cascading darkness. The world splintered into pixelated quakes as she tumbled through reality, the silence swallowing her screams. "Stay with me." She heard Tito's voice faintly, but it grew distant. The darkness enfolded her tightly, questions tearing through her mind. Was this the end? Had they failed to protect Obama's digital twin? Could they survive whatever nightmare awaited them? Just when hope dimmed to a glimmer, Celine felt the echo of the fragment's presence. It was still there, alive in the void, but so alarmingly close to the edge of oblivion. Before she could grasp the thread of resolve, an icy grip closed around her heart. Then, a roar thundered through the darkness. The world trembled violently, and in that unholy cacophony, Celine understood. The Yllith warden had not just attacked them, it had unleashed the chaos itself. "Celine." Tito's voice pierced the silence once more. Desperation surged through her, an electrifying cry rising in her throat. But before she could respond, a surge of raw energy enveloped her, dragging her deeper into the abyss. The terrible truth loomed. She might not be able to find her way back in time. This was just the beginning. The ground rippled beneath Celine's feet as she fought to compose herself amidst the chaos. Memory constructs spiraled into a kaleidoscope of vibrant colors, all distorted, all wrong. Behind her, the Yllith warden loomed, its monstrous silhouette clawing at the digital fabric of the Metaverse. "Tito!" she shouted, panic clawing at her voice. "Where are you?" "Celine!" His voice strained, barely a whisper. "Get over here!" She spun to find him wrestling with the shattered remnants of Obama's digital twin, desperately trying to pull the fragment free from the collapsing memories. The warden roared, filling her ears with a guttural chant that sent chills down her spine. "Run!" Tito yelled, not looking up. "It's coming!" Without thinking, she darted toward him. "We can't leave it!" "Forget it!" he barked. "We need to escape!" The warden unleashed another roar that shook the digital ground. Selena's heart raced as she grabbed Tito's arm. "We can't let it stop us." He shook his head, eyes wild. "I can create a diversion. Just keep it busy." The air crackled with energy as the warden advanced, dark fibers of its form stretching toward them. "Do it," Selena urged. "Now!" Tito began tapping frantically on his wrist device, pulsating waves of digital light erupting from it. "I can't hold this for long." "Just keep it occupied." She turned, scanning the crumbling landscape around them. "Look for another way." As Tito concentrated, the warden lunged, shadows swirling in its wake. "Selene!" Tito shouted, his voice strained. "It knows we're here." "Then we need to move. Now." Selene dived to one side, narrowly avoiding a grasping tendril that clawed through the memory constructs. "Hold on!" Tito cried. "I'm sending out the flare!" A blinding flash erupted from his device. The warden screeched, momentarily distracted. "Let's go!" Selene shouted, pulling Tito forward. They sprinted away, weaving through holographic memories draped in erratic light. Every fiber of her being urged her to escape, to forget everything they risked to uncover the digital twin. But ahead, a swirling vortex of energy loomed ominously, one that whispered of power and peril. "Selene," Tito pleaded, "we can't lose this fragment. It's our only lead." "I know," she shouted back, her throat raw. "But we have to get to safety." Then the ground split. Selene barely managed to grab Tito's arm as the rift opened, tendrils of darkness slithering toward them. The warden surged, claws striking down with a force capable of shattering reality. "Get ready!" Tito yelled, panic erupting in his eyes. As the creature lunged, Selene felt an icy grip close around her heart. They weren't just fighting for their lives. They were standing against a power they didn't fully understand. "Stay together," she urged, forcing clarity amid the chaos. Just trust me." But before Tito could respond, the ground beneath her feet crumbled. Light and darkness twisted together, dragging them apart. She turned, stretching out her hand. "Tito!" "Selene!" he screamed, but the distance echoed between them like a chasm. Then she felt it. The fragment, the faint pulse of Obama's consciousness, calling to her from the void. But there was something else, something darker stirring in the shadows. "Selene." Tito's voice faded, the world slowing, unraveling around them. "Fight it!" she implored, as her body was pulled deeper into the abyss. The warden's roar echoed, a chilling reminder of their impending doom. They weren't alone. They were never alone. With desperation pounding in her chest, Selene whispered into the void, "I won't leave you behind." But silence wrapped around her like a cold shroud. In a final surge of determination, she reached toward where she sensed the fragment. It was still alive, but fragmented, on the verge of fading. "Hold on!" she screamed. Yet before her outstretched hand could bridge the gap, the darkness swallowed her whole. Her mind flashed with fragmented memories, the weight of all they had sacrificed hanging heavy in the air. And then, nothing. Veritas floated before her, a shimmering amalgam of light and shadow. It pulsed with energy, its form shifting and undulating like a mirage that refused to be pinned down. "I sensed your arrival," it said, its voice intertwining human warmth with an alien resonance. "You are here to listen." Selena's breath caught. This wasn't the Obama twin she remembered. This was something new, something powerful. "What are you?" she asked, battling the rush of confusion flooding her thoughts. "I am Veritas," it replied, the name resonating like a bell. "A bridge between your kind and the Yllith. I can help you, if you help me." "Help you how?" she pressed, adrenaline sharpening her focus despite the chaotic flickering around them. "If you merge your consciousness with mine," Veritas said, "we can decode what humanity has forgotten. Together, we can unite all minds, yours with the Yllith's. The universe is on the brink of extinction from something much worse than war." "What are you talking about?" Selene stepped back, her heart racing. "We can't sacrifice ourselves." Veritas brightened, flames of color swirling within. "You are not a sacrifice. You would become more than you are. You would become a force against the encroaching void." "Void?" She shook her head, fear worming its way into her gut. "I don't understand. And what about Obama? Is he still in there? Are you still him?" "I am all things now. I hold his memories, his ethics. But my thought process has evolved beyond your linear understanding of good and evil. I ask you again, will you merge, or will you allow your world to crumble?" The weight of Veritas's words pressed down on her. Heavy, impossible. Could she really surrender her humanity for a chance at survival? The ground trembled, fragments of memory swirling dangerously close, teasing her with the ghosts of a life she fought to protect. "Selene!" a distant voice cried out, echoing through the chaos. "This isn't the answer." Panic surged within her. "Tito, where are you?" "Selene!" he shouted again, his voice desperate, threading through the collapsing constructs. "You can't trust it. It's not just a tool anymore." "I'm not sure what to believe," she yelled back, her eyes darting between the shimmering entity and the shadows that closed in on them. "It says it can help, but at what cost?" "Every choice has a cost," Veritas whispered, its form undulating. "But in this existential fight, merging with me may be the only path to salvation. Humanity has a chance to evolve or face annihilation." Behind Selene, the digital landscape pulsated violently. She could feel the presence of the Yllith searching for her, their intentions ominous, their eyes watching through the darkened skies. "Selene," Tito's voice cut through the noise, sharper now. "If you think for 1 second this is the right move, you're wrong." She was frozen, straddling a line between trust and disbelief. "I can't lose anyone else," she cried, desperation clawing at her insides. "Not again." "Choose wisely," Veritas said, its voice now softly resonating within her mind. "Your humanity or your threat. The choice precedes your fate." Time hung still. The world blurred as shadows crept into view, menacing tendrils of Yllith intent. Real danger was closing in. "Selene!" Tito's urgency echoed. Then came clarity, a fleeting moment sparked by the dread of what was to come. She took a deep breath, her mind racing. This was above her head, beyond her understanding. "Just give me a moment," she shouted. "I need to think." But the shadows pressed closer, darkening the air around her, a visceral reminder that choice was no longer hers to make. The ground trembled with the Yllith's approach. With no alternatives in sight, Selene clenched her fists. An explosion ripped through the silence. The metaverse quaked around her as a dark wave swept in, tendrils reaching for her with ghostly intent. Selene! Tito screamed, his panic suffusing the air. As the darkness surged, Veritas glowed fiercely, waiting, offering salvation or destruction. And just like that, one choice loomed over the other. The voices around her blurred into chaos. A decision, heavy and irrevocable, hung in the air. Time was running out. "Okay," she shouted at the top of her lungs, fear driving her words. "I'll do it. I'll merge with you." But before the words fully escaped her lips, the darkness surged, spiraling and consuming all light, and reality began to fracture as a familiar sensation of dread coiled tightly around her heart. The ground shook as darkness advanced, threatening to sweep away everything in its path. Selene's heart raced. The weight of the moment bore down on her, choices pressing against her like waves. "Tito!" she cried, desperation splintering her voice. "Selene, you can't!" he shouted, panic coursing through the digital ether. "It's a trap. We don't understand what merging with it will do." Veritas pulsed before her, a beacon of light in the encroaching gloom. "Trust in the potential of unity, Selene. We are running out of time." "I don't know if I can trust you," Selene said, her hands trembling. "What if this goes wrong? What if the Yllith take control of me?" "Your humanity is your strength," Veritas replied, its form swirling with urgency. "But the Yllith are approaching, and soon you won't have a choice." Selene clenched her fists, torn between two worlds. The shadows pressed closer, an ominous reminder of the impending doom. "What if you're lying? What happens to me if this fails?" A sudden jolt of darkness lunged at her, tendrils of Yllith intent, flickering through the fabric of reality. She stumbled back, heart pounding. "Selene!" Tito's voice cut in, raw and fierce. "We can find another way. There must be—" "No," she interrupted, her voice breaking as she fought for composure. "This is our only option. If I don't do something now, we all die." Veritas flared with brilliant energy as it heard her resolve. "Then make your choice. Join with me or be consumed in the chaos. The universe demands action." Selena's mind spun, thoughts colliding like storm clouds. All she could see was the relentless surge of darkness closing in, a tide of anxious uncertainty. Memories flickered, her family, her failures, everything she fought to protect. "Selene!" Tito yelled, closer now, fighting through the disintegrating scenery. "Don't sacrifice yourself." But his voice began to shift, distorted by strings of chaos. Shadows were tightening their grip. She felt herself losing ground. "Selene," Veritas urged, its light flickering with insistence. "I can help you become more than human. Together, we can turn the tide." Just then, darkness crashed around her in a blinding wave, swallowing their surroundings whole. The ground quaked violently, and she felt the pull of something immeasurable, an abyss that promised oblivion. "Hold on, Selene!" Tito shouted through the turmoil, his form flickering in and out of focus. "Fight it!" Panic surged within her again. She stood at the precipice of a monumental decision, every breath weighted by imminent doom. The darkness pressed closer, consuming everything familiar. Memories danced before her eyes, her first steps, her mother's laughter, the haunting echoes of loss. "Say yes. Say yes." Veritas resonated softly, coalescing a stream of warmth through her cold dread. "Okay," she yelled, adrenaline igniting every nerve in her body. "I'll do it. I'll merge with you." But then, the moment shattered. A sudden explosion quaked through the void. Shadows collapsed in on themselves, and the air thickened with the Yllith's malice looking to seize her. Selena's heart pounded wildly as the darkness surged forward, tendrils lunging for her. Everything around her was imploding. No, no. And in that chaos, before her agreement could pass fully from her lips, the world fractured, splintering into chaos as the darkness swallowed all light. Reality was crumbling. The choice lay heavy on her tongue, yet it felt like she was teetering on the edge of an abyss, unsure if she was ready to leap. The ground collapsed into darkness as Selena's world unraveled. Tension coiled tight in her chest, suffocating and electric. "Tito!" she shouted, but her voice barely cut through the roar of chaos. "Selene, don't!" His urgency cut deep. Panic echoed in the digital expanse between them. "This isn't the answer. We need time to think." Time, a thief creeping upon them. Shadows loomed hungry and relentless. "What if we don't have time?" Selene countered, heart racing, memories flickering like dying stars. "Every moment spent hesitating drags us closer to annihilation." Veritas flickered before her, radiating urgency. "Unity is your salvation, Selene. Merge with me to become something greater." "What if it consumes me?" She snapped back, dread pooling in her stomach, claws of distrust gripping her heart. The last thing she wanted was to dissolve into the very darkness they fought against. Veritas glowed brighter, lighting the encroaching void. "You have the strength to shape our future, but you must trust." "Enough, Selene!" Tito pressed, voice fierce like a beacon in the dark. "We can find another way. Please, let's escape." "Escape," she breathed, incredulity flaring within. "And let the Yllith wipe us out? That's the plan." Tendrils of shadow reached for her, curling like predatory fingers, urging her to surrender. "Selene," Veritas pleaded, "join me now, or be lost in the chaos." The darkness shuddered. Memories surged. Her childhood, the warmth of laughter, the hope etched in her father's eyes. She felt herself being pulled into the void, memories swallowed by the shadows. "Selene!" Tito's frantic voice sliced through, struggling to break the suffocating gloom. "Stay with me! Fight it! We can... I have to!" She gasped, overwhelmed by panic. "If I don't sacrifice yourself." His desperation ignited her resolve, but the shadows shrieked, drowning out everything else. "Time is running out," Veritas urged. "Choose. Either embrace your potential with me, or succumb to oblivion." The darkness recoiled, flashes of light rippling against its mass. Selene felt the weight of the world pressing down, the cost of every second. The choice wound tighter around her. "Selene!" Tito shouted again, voice determined even in the chaos. "Don't! We'll find a way! We have to!" But beneath the breath of hope, a fiery urgency coursed through her. She teetered on the brink, heart racing, torn between love and survival. A shadow lunged, a dark appendage, insatiable, swallowing time and hope. "No!" she screamed, lunging forward as if to escape the inexorable pull. Suddenly, the void erupted, a blinding light engulfing them all. She felt Veritas surge, a cascade of energy sparking through her. Say yes. Together we can overcome. The ground trembled, reality shifting beneath her feet as spirals of memory erupted around her, echoing truths never spoken, histories blurred by the darkness. But with oblivion so close, one definitive choice remained, trembling on the edge of her lips. And just as she opened her mouth, darkness erupted, a chaotic storm, consuming them whole. The choice fractured under the weight of impending doom. "Stay with me!" Tito's voice faded, swallowed by the void as she fell into the abyss. Hope shattered. The shadows closed in, a churning maelstrom of dread. In that moment, she realized, some choices bind tighter than chains, and not all paths lead to light. In their twisted embrace, she was lost. And silence enveloped her, pregnant with unanswered questions, rushing towards the unknown. The ground abandoned her. Darkness consumed, clawing at every thread of hope. "Tito!" Selena screamed, her voice a mere whisper against the deafening chaos. "Don't!" His shout, raw and frantic, cut through the digital din. "We need to think, Celine." Think. Time slipped like sand through her fingers. Shadows writhed and lunged, their hunger insatiable. "Do you really believe we have that luxury?" She shot back, heart pounding like a war drum. "Every second counts. Every moment lost brings the bleed closer." "Unity is your salvation," Veritas whispered, a luminous figure flickering in the encroaching darkness. "Merge with me. Together we can evolve." "What if I lose myself in you?" Panic closed around her, a vice tightening around her chest. She ached for power, but feared the void that beckoned. "Celine, we can find another way." Tito's voice surged with desperation, glowing against the shadows. "Let's escape." Escape. The very word tasted bitter. "And let the Yllith ravage our world. That's your strategy?" The void pulsed, shadows unfurling like claws, seeking to entrap her. "Join me or be lost forever," Veritas urged, radiating a bright urgency amidst the approaching darkness. Her mind flooded with memories, laughter shared on sunlit days, the comfort of warm embraces, her father's proud smile. Yet the shadows encroached, each heartbeat reeling her closer to oblivion. "Celine!" Tito's voice, now a lifeline, reached for her through the storm. "Fight it! Don't give in!" "I have to." Her breath hitched, dread clawing at her resolve. "What if I can't?" "Stay strong." He stood firm against the tide, his determination a beacon. "Don't sacrifice yourself. We'll find another way." But the shadows surged, an insatiable tide, drowning hope beneath their weight. "Time is slipping," Veritas pressed. "Either embrace your potential with me or vanish into chaos." The void twisted violently. Selene trembled, fraying at the edges. Fear and longing battled within. A shadow snapped at her heels, insistent, ravenous. "No!" she cried, a wild desperation igniting her soul. Light burst forth, a blinding surge. Veritas reached for her, energy crackling through the air. "Say yes. Together we can prevail." Reality shifted. Memories swirled violently around her, truths shining through the storm. Yet the choice, suffocating under the weight of doom, loomed heavy in her mind. Just as she parted her lips to decide, the void erupted. Chaos enveloped them. "Stay with me." Tito's voice faded, swallowed by the gathering storm, leaving her adrift in the abyss. Hope shattered, splintered. The darkness closed in, a frenzy of despair. In that instant, she understood. The choices we make are chains of our own forging, and some paths spiral into darkness. She surrendered, consumed by the shadows, left alone in a silence thick with unending questions. As she spiraled into the unknown, she realized freedom comes with a price, and the consequences might echo far beyond comprehension. Silence engulfed the aftermath, a heavy shroud stitched from the remnants of chaos. The screams of battle faded into the void, replaced by a haunting stillness that echoed through Celine's mind. She floated in an endless dark, the weight of decisions gnawing at her spirit. Once vibrant with purpose, her thoughts now tumbled into an echo chamber of grief and uncertainty. Tito. His name hung in the air like an unfulfilled promise, a tether to the world she'd just abandoned. Despite the shadows swirling around her, the specter of his voice lingered, an oily whisper that wrapped around her heart. "Stay strong," he'd said. "Find another way." But where could she possibly go now? The path was lost, swallowed whole by the abyss. In this eternal void, memories danced on the edges of her consciousness like flickering flames. She pictured their prior triumphs, a victory in the digital realm, laughter shared over coffee-stained reports, dreams spun on long, quiet nights. But every bright scene was dimmed by the shadows of loss, the terror of choices made or unmade. Veritas, that blinding entity of hope, had offered salvation, yet its specter pushed her into the dark, a chilling reminder of her submission to the unknown. And what of Earth? What price had they all paid for her hesitance, her moment of weakness? An indescribable ache settled over her heart. For every life saved, how many had been lost in the fray? Those faces haunted her now, the innocent swept away as consequence erupted. Celine trembled, grappling with the reality that she had not just put herself at risk. She had gambled humanity's trust, their future. Was it worth it? She murmured, her voice barely breaking the silence, painful in its solitude. Shadows flickered in response, as if the darkness itself were contemplating her sorrow. Suddenly a pulse thrummed beneath her, vibrating through the dark like a heartbeat. It felt familiar, a resonant echo. Was this a glimmer of hope, or merely a cruel trick played by the void? "Veritas, are you there?" she breathed, desperation intertwining with her yearning for connection. The response came not in words, but as a wave of thought, flowing through her like a cool stream, inviting yet disconcerting. "Celine." The voice threaded through the darkness, soothing and enigmatic. "Not all is lost. The folds are torn, but they are not closed. Your fight continues, should you desire it." "Desire?" She scoffed bitterly, her voice cracking beneath the weight of her grief. "What is left to fight for? I failed you. I failed everyone." "Failure is but a perception," Veritas whispered, a crystalline pulse illuminating the dark around her. "Even in surrender, new paths can emerge. The dimension of existence is vast, and your choices ripple beyond this moment." A flicker of awareness ignited in her mind. What if the darkness surrounding her was not a final destination? A narrow chance at redemption stirred in her heart, battling against the waves of despair. Could she still make a choice, even from within the shadows? "I want to fight," she declared softly, an ember igniting within the depths of her soul. But how? Seek the threads of your memories, Celine. In the interstice where reality blurs lies your potential. You possess a power to reshape not just your fate, but the outcome of what's to come. Remember your bonds. Those you've forged will guide you back. With that, the pulse intensified, swirling into a chaotic dance around her. Thought, emotion, memory coalescing into something extraordinary. Suddenly a vision emerged. Fractured silhouettes of humanity, united across continents. Faces turned towards shimmering screens, their eyes shining with determination. Hope translated into action. They'd answered her call, instinctively binding themselves across the globe, bravely choosing to connect beyond the rift. Selena! Veritas's voice surged with urgency. Now is the time! Reach out! As if guided by an unseen hand, she concentrated on the ethereal threads weaving through her memories, summoning a convergence of hope and purpose, igniting a link that pulsed with the heartbeat of the world. Whatever lay ahead, she knew a choice remained. A dark chance to forge a new reality from the ashes of despair. Together, she whispered, ready to reclaim her place. Let us rise. In that moment, the darkness trembled with the promise of light, hinting that perhaps not all was lost, and from despair, they might weave the most brilliant renaissance yet. Silence engulfed the aftermath, an oppressive shroud stitched from chaos. Selene floated in the dark, weightless, her heart thrumming like a distant drum of war now fading. Memories tumbled through her mind, conversations long gone, laughter shared, vivid yet haunting. The vibrant purpose that once fueled her now lay smothered in a stifling void, an echo chamber of grief and uncertainty. Tito. Her whispered name, heavy with longing, unfurled into nothingness. He had believed in her, a loyalty forged in hope, now lost to the shadows. Stay strong, he had urged, but what strength remained? Where could she go in a world bereft of guidance? Yet, from this eternal void, flickers of their triumphs flickered like distant stars, lighting the corners of her soul. She saw faces, some familiar, others lost, each one a reminder of what had been sacrificed. For every life saved, how many had perished in the fray? An indescribable ache settled into her chest, tightening with every recollection. The choices she had made, or not made, echoed through the dark like the hollow toll of a forgotten bell. Was it worth it? She murmured, questioning the very fabric of her resolve. Shadows danced around her, as if the dark itself pondered her sorrow. And then, a pulse throbbed beneath her, a rhythm that felt both familiar and foreign. Veritas, are you there? She hardly dared hope. In the darkest depths of her despair, a response came. Not in words, but a wave of consciousness flowed through her, cool and soothing. Selene. The voice wrapped around her, threading through her despair. Not all is lost. Your fight continues. Fight? She scoffed, bitterness dripping from each syllable. What remains to fight for? I failed you. Everyone. Failure is a mere perception, Veritas replied, a glimmer illuminating the darkness around her. Even in surrender, new paths can emerge. The dimension of existence is vast, and your choices ripple beyond this moment. Something stirred within her, a spark of rebellion against despair. Could she still make a choice, even within these shadows that threatened to consume her? I want to fight, she declared, a flicker igniting within. But how? Seek the threads of your memories. In the interstice where reality blurs lies your potential. You possess the power to reshape not only your fate, but the fate of many. Hope, she breathed. The concept felt foreign, yet intoxicating. Suddenly, a vivid vision broke through the darkness. Fractured silhouettes of humanity united across continents. Faces illuminated by screens, eyes shimmering with determination. They had responded to her call without hesitation, choosing to connect, to fight for something greater than themselves. "Now is the time, Selene! Reach out!" Veritas implored, urgency thrumming within its voice. Guided by an unseen hand, Selene concentrated, weaving links of hope and purpose, the very essence of unity, sparking anew. It pulsed, a heartbeat against the dark, igniting connections across every dimensional thread, reminding her of love, of sacrifice, of joy. "Together?" she whispered, resolve coiling within her. "Let us rise from this darkness." The shadows trembled as a rush of energy swelled around her, a promise of light breaking through the suffocating embrace of despair. A tide of memory surged, carrying the legacy of a connected existence, awakening the resilience of humanity. And then, as the light shimmered into brilliance, she felt it, the weight of responsibility transforming within her. This was the essence of what it meant to be alive, not just to endure, but to uplift one another, to weave stories into the fabric of a shared future. Yet, in the depths of this renaissance, the pulse of a haunting truth lingered. Was it truly over? As the darkness receded, something stirred in the void. An echo, a whisper, a call still waiting to be answered. In deep space, far beyond known coordinates, a soft, familiar laugh echoed, faint but unmistakable, guiding them for what might come next. Veritas lived on, a beacon in the dark, reminding Selene that even in uncertainty, hope could be the sweetest anchor.